So welcome to this first session on reading skills. So let us start this session. We'll wait for a minute. Yeah, भैया ये चालू तो नहीं हुआ। मैं लाइव यहाँ से बोलना भी चालू कर दिया, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ। अरे यार, all right, guys. So sorry for some technical issues. Let us start this session. So today what we are going to do is our session goal is to understand what constitutes the main idea of the passage and to understand the approach to solve the main idea question. So in this reading class of today, what I will be dealing with is how to identify the key elements of any passage. What is the main idea of the passage? Because if you can identify the main idea of any passage, I believe that half the job is done. Most of the questions in any passage revolve around main idea. So for example, questions that are based on what is the theme of the passage or primary purpose of the passage, obviously they are main idea question. Besides these questions, the type of question with which of the following author is most likely to agree or disagree is also based on the main idea question, right? If you are able to identify the main idea, that means you are able to identify what is author's take on any particular topic which is being discussed in the passage. So obviously you will be able to solve the question which is being asked, plus the questions which trouble us all. Even these type of question trouble me also. The questions which are based on strengthening the argument and weakening the argument, right? So the evidence based question. So evidence based question can only be solved once you have identified what is the main argument, right? So if I have to strengthen the argument, the first step has to be identifying the argument. Only then I can provide some extra premise for the argument. All right. So let us start the main session now. So this will be our session flow. Firstly, I will be discussing the approach to solve, and then we will be doing some exercises. Uh, so let me begin. What is the main idea of the passage according to me? So main idea of the passage is something which we can also call as the main point or the main argument or the essence or the main conclusion or the main theme, anything. I mean, all are one and same. So to identify the main idea of the passage, what I have to do is I have to identify two things. What is the content of the passage and what is the author's judgment on that particular content. So content of the passage plus author's judgment of the content. Please remember C plus J. C plus J is the main idea of the passage. Content of the passage plus author's judgment or opinion about that content. If you can find this, most of the questions you will see are related to this only in any passage. Now, very often, very often, the main idea, the hint of the main idea you can get from the first few lines or the last few lines. That doesn't mean that these are the lines that are the only important lines. There can be something in between the passage also, right? So but primarily that's why we say that when you read, focus more on the beginning of the passage, right? So in case of lengthy passages, you can do following things. So lengthy passage mean some passage which has four or above paragraphs in it. make a headline of each paragraph. Headline should reflect the C plus J. Usually first or second line of any paragraph contain this. So we need to understand that any paragraph given in the passage, any paragraph which is given in the passage, it is related to the main passage, main passage, right? So if I can identify, for example, if there is one particular passage, sorry, if there is one particular passage and that passage has four paragraph, P1, P2, P3 and P4, they have four paragraphs, right? So if I have to identify the main idea of this entire passage, what I can do is I can identify the main idea of the first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph. So what we are saying is C plus J of first paragraph, that is content plus judgment of first paragraph, content plus judgment of second paragraph, content plus judgment of third paragraph, and content plus judgment of fourth paragraph. Now what will happen is, if I have identified the content plus judgment of each of these paragraph, my main idea or of the entire passage will be nothing but the common theme of these four paragraphs. So I will demonstrate it to you right now. You may feel that it is bit confusing, but trust me, it is very easy. What is the content of the passage and what is author's judgment of the passage? Most of the time you will not be required, most of the time you will not be even required to look at this approach of each paragraph. Let me identify the main idea of each paragraph of a particular passage. It won't be required, right? So second point that you need to remember is read remaining paragraph quickly, slowing down for new elements. Now, so this I have already told, that read each paragraph that way. And what you also need to do is, whenever you come across new element, any new example or any switch word, you need to slow down. These are the areas from which new question can be formed. What do we mean by new element is, for example, we are talking about artificial intelligence. And when we are talking about artificial intelligence, suddenly a new element or a new person is being talked about. So, for example, talking about artificial intelligence and the paragraph introduces what Bill Gates says about artificial intelligence. Chances are very high that question can be formed from this particular area. Switch words are words like but, yet, despite, although, however. These are the words. Usually, these are the words which gives you hint that herein lies the author's opinion on that particular content. So whenever you come across these words, slow down a bit. Repeat 1 and 2 for each paragraph. Find the common theme among the headline of each paragraph, and that common theme is your main idea. That's what I was saying. Paragraph number 1, 2, 3, 4 of the passage. For each paragraph, identify content plus judgment, and you will be able to identify the main idea. Right? Usually, this is the construct of any passage. So a point means the idea is given right upfront in the passage, and then in addition to what follows next is the evidence of that particular idea. So whatever author wants to convey, author says it upfront in the first paragraph itself, and then the remaining paragraph, author can provide the evidence or the implication of what he's trying to say or justify. Right. So this is one very common way of writing, and these days most of the passages you come across will be like this. Then the other way of writing is the very traditional way, wherein we start with a background, we build up content, we give a lot of background, and then we come to the evidence and give point. Right. Now understand, any paragraph will have some background to justify the importance of what author is trying to say. Background is important, right? But modern day writers, they give the point right up front and then they give some background. So that kind of construct is quite possible if you see in different kind of writing. So these are three common types of writing. I'm just telling you these things so that you know about what can come in the what are the common type of the passages that you can come across. Technically speaking, you don't have to remember all these things. Obviously, CLAT won't be asking this, right? So let us proceed and do some exercise. So I'm keeping my video off, and you can read this passage, and we will see what are the main elements of this passage, giving you 2-3 minutes time to read this particular passage. Right. Do let me know, guys. Once you have done the reading, you can let me know in the chat box. Rachit Kumar, your question, if you have seen this passage before, then I have done it before. If you have not seen, then please read this. Yeah, but concept will be always be same, right? Passages may be different. Okay. In the chat box, please let me know once you have completed the passage. I don't know. Somebody is asking, is this CR passage? Can somebody tell me, CLAT vlogging, how you differentiate between a CR passage and English passage? Rather than rather than getting into these things, I mean, let us focus on how to identify the main argument or the main idea. So most of the people have done the reading part. Now, let us see how we can break down the passage. Okay. Now, see what has happened here. Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, apparently to stop NATO's further expansion into its neighborhood. But in less than 3 months, the same invasion has pushed two countries in that neighborhood to consider NATO membership. Now, the first few lines, if you see, the first few lines are something which is building up the context, right? So there is nothing which I can say is author's opinion here. All right. So the things in yellow are the opinions of the author. So author has built up the context what he's going to talk about. Then he says that last week the prime minister and the president of Finland, which has stayed neutral since the end of Second World War, said they hoped their country would apply for NATO membership without delay. Sweden, which has stayed out of military alliance for 200 years, stated that NATO membership would strengthen its national security and stability. Whatever they are talking, these are only factual statements. I want an statement which gives me author's opinion on the topic. These are factual statement. What is the opinion or judgment wala statement? Opinionated or judgmental statements are a statement which will vary from person to person. So these are all factual things that he has said with regard to what he wants to convey. So he has said that Russia has invaded Ukraine, right? But right now, what is happening is that Russia invaded Ukraine to stop NATO's expansion further. But what is happening is that after invasion, two more countries have applied for NATO. Now, this is something which is author's opinion. If these two countries now formally apply for membership, it would be the biggest strategic setback for Russian President Vladimir Putin, right? You don't have to mark these lines in the exam. Okay. So these is important line. This is what author is trying to say, that if these two countries now apply for membership, and then it will be a biggest strategic setback for Russia. Now this is a judgment line. Why this is a judgment line? Because here people may have varied opinion whether this will be a big strategic setback for Russia or not. So author has built up a context, then given his opinion. Then author goes on to explain why is he saying that this will be a setback. Particularly alarming for Russia is the case of Finland. So he is just explaining this. So what we say is this is evidence or premise in the passage, what we usually called as evidence, and strengthening the question, weakening the question can come from that. Now, if you look at again the last line, which is in yellow of the first paragraph, now Ukraine appears to have deepened the security concerns for Finland and Sweden, appears to have. Then if you have read, obviously you have read the entire passage. If you see, things in yellow are the things from where questions can come. All right. So if I have to break it down to content plus judgment, remember, main idea is content plus judgment. What is the content? What is the passage all about? Passage is about Russia's invasion of Ukraine and NATO's expansion. That is what passage is about. Now, what is author trying to say about this particular topic? What author is trying to say is, if Finland and Sweden gets NATO membership, which they are seeking post Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it could escalate the problem. He has said it could escalate the problem. Russia will be having a strategic setback, right? And then he goes on to say that what can happen towards the end. So author has also urged various stakeholders to avoid the escalation of the problem, right? So that is the main thing that he has said towards the end. What should be done. All right. So this is what the passage is all about. It is about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Russia was hoping that it will avoid or it will prevent NATO's further expansion. On the contrary, two more countries are seeking membership of NATO, and if they are given membership, then it can escalate the problem. And author is saying that stakeholders should avoid escalation of the problem, right? So give me the answer. I am only giving you one question for each paragraph. Which of the following statements sums up the author's position? Right. So I'm getting all sorts of answer. D is one answer which nobody has given. Obviously, this is the weakest of the all option. To avoid escalation of crisis, NATO shall accept Sweden and Finland as member states. Let us go back and see. Right. So the things in yellow were the things where you should have focused more, because that is what the judgment is. Um, Russia should immediately halt the war, and all the stakeholders should focus on finding a long-term solution to the crisis. Right? And here he said, but the bigger question these countries as well as Europe as a whole faces, whether another round of expansion of NATO would help bring in peace and stability in Europe. It would escalate the current crisis. Already, the several round of NATO expansion, Russia's territorial aggression have brought the world to its most dangerous moment. Russia should immediately halt the war. That is the final opinion. And all the stakeholders should focus on finding a long term solution to the crisis. All right. Now, let us see. Our content and judgment is also here with us. If Finland and Sweden get membership, which they are seeking, it could escalate the problem. The stakeholders should avoid focus should focus on avoiding it. Avoiding is escalation of the problem, that they should look to avoid that. Okay, so I can understand people have given me answer as B, which is absolutely wrong. I have I have said D cannot be the answer. The stakeholders should focus on bringing peace and prosperity in the world. Where is the content here? Where is the content? Look, what is your content? Where is the content? My answer should have element of content in it. This is so broad. That is what we call as broad options. So obviously, this is the best option. Without reading the passage, you should have marked it that everybody should focus on bringing peace and prosperity in the world. But how is it related to the passage? So why are we marking it? It doesn't have the content. Answer should be between A and C. So I am okay with people saying either A or C, because D obviously is wrong. B, lot of people have given B, but that's the kind of mistake that we commit. He has not said that bring peace and prosperity in the world. There are a couple of problems. As I said, it is broad. Plus the other thing is I have problem with the word prosperity also. All he has talked about is peace, halt the war. Where is prosperity being discussed? Because most often you listen these two words, peace and prosperity together, you mark it. Right. Now, out of A and C, what is the right answer? Right answer is something which is best defendable. Best defendable means if there is a debate, I can say that this is better than this. Now, what do we mean by debate? Debate means I should mark the option which is more balanced in its wording, right? Which is more balanced in its wording, which I can certainly say, yeah, this is something that he has said. Regarding the other option, there is slightly doubt in my mind whether he's trying to say that, right? So let me look at the two options. The focus must be on Russia ending the war and not expanding NATO. Looks very good because that's what he has said. The focus must be on ending the war, halt the war, right? He has said that expanding the NATO, that should not be the focus. That doesn't mean that later on it should not be expanded. He has talked about long-term consequence. Answer is option number A. It's not C. To avoid escalation of crisis, NATO shall not accept. This is bit strong. This is bit strong. NATO shall not accept Sweden and Finland as member states. Please understand. Please understand. So today you say that answer is C. Author is not against taking Sweden and Finland in. Author is saying that if you keep on taking members in, Russia will escalate the situation. So focus on ending the war, not on expansion. So if you are marking C, that you shall not take Sweden and Finland in, tomorrow suppose some other countries come which are not part of NATO, then what will happen? Then you will say to avoid escalation, don't take them in. So rather than marking C as the answer, obviously A is something which is more defendable. He is not against taking these two countries. He is against expansion. So shall not accept is not the issue. He's saying that he's saying that end the war. Do not focus on expansion right now. A is more defendable than C, right? Okay, let us go to the next question, next passage. Now, this passage, if somebody has attended my reading session before, the last month that I took, we discussed this passage, right? But the next passage that I have taken is again something which is fresh. Okay. Yes, this is a previous year passage, CLAT blogging. This is a previous year passage, but that's what. Let us see what I was saying. Can we apply this in the actual CLAT passage? Okay, guys, done. Okay. Now, if you see this particular passage, it is quite different from the one we read, and of course, not in the terms of content. Of course, it is different in the terms of content, but in terms of the way it has been organized, right? If you remember, recall what we read, the first passage that we did. In the first few lines, author set up the context or gave the background and then gave his opinion. Now, in this particular passage, if you see, so this particular passage, the first line itself is bit opinionated. Not bit opinionated, but it is quite opinionated. Public speaking is a powerful real life skill. Over the centuries, impressive speeches made by people from various walks of life have held have helped to change hearts, minds, and shape the world as we see today. So the first line itself is something which we say is judgmental in nature, and then towards the beginning itself, the author is given what is he going to talk about, what is his take on particular topic, and then he has given a lot of examples. So if you see the things in blue on October 5 in 1877 in the mountains of this. So this is example. This is example of what? Of something which he's trying to convey. He's trying to convey this. So basically, speeches have power. And he has given example number one here. Then he gives another example, example number two. During the World War II, what has happened? Then another example. And towards the end, if you see, author gives the final opinion. Undoubtedly, effective speeches have long-lasting impact on the minds of the listener, and they elevate the level of awareness of actions the speakers intend to raise or catalyze. Very simple passage. CLAT, I think 2022 CLAT, right? So if I have to break it down into the passages, paragraphs. Paragraph number one is simple. Public speaking and its impact on people. Of course, author has talked about positive impact that it has. Paragraph number two is example of Chief Joseph's speech and its impact. Paragraph number three is another example. Paragraph number four is another example. Paragraph number five is author's final opinion. Now, somebody was asking me, sir, how can I increase my reading speed? This is how you increase your reading speed. You anticipated that this is an example. So, when you are reading an example, you can read it fast. Of course, question will come, not can, but question will definitely come from example. But what are the question that can come? So whenever an example is given, there are only two questions that can come. Question one is, why has author given particular example? So for example, question can be, why author has given example of Chief Joseph surrender to General Nelson, whatever. I mean, surrender speech. Why author has given example of surrender speech? That is one question that can come. Now, obviously, answer is to prove his point. Whenever the question is, what is the purpose of using this? What is the purpose of using this? Purpose of using anything in passage is only one, that I want to prove my main point. The option which reflects this is your right answer. The other question that can come from example is that it can come from the content of the example, that what can you infer from what has happened during the surrender speech, or what kind of I think the question that came in CLAT was, what kind of tone is there in the surrender speech, right, or emotion in the surrender speech. So basically the content of the example. Whenever the question is on the content of the example, you can always go back and read it, right? So only two type of questions can come from the example. Yes, of course, there is a third type of question also that can come from the example, but I always suggest leave that question. You know what kind of question? The question which says that, with which of the following option is similar to the example that author is used in the passage. Now this is time taking in nature, because I have to understand the example in the passage. What purpose is it playing? The construct of that example. Then I have to read all the four options. Of course, in any case, I have to read, but here, after reading the four options, I have to check which of the four options is similar construct to the one given in the passage. It is time taking, and chances are that not I will not get it right. So better to leave such questions for the end. So these are the only questions that you will find from examples. And trust me, it is so easy to frame. Whenever I set a passage, I frame a question. I frame a question around examples. If there is some example used in the passage or some person being quoted in the passage, it is easy for me to frame question. So this is called as anticipation when reading. So when somebody was asking, sir, how to read fast, this is one thing that you can remember. All right, so here what is the content, content and judgment. Content is, it's about public speaking. What is author's judgment? Author has cited speeches I've held in shaping the world. He has given several examples for it. His final verdict is this. Very simple passage. All right, okay, so let us see the main idea of the passage. Very simple, all of you should get right, and you should be happy that you have got this right, because this question is the actual exam question. So we unnecessarily also we think that CLAT will be very difficult. I don't know, but looking at the past, it is not as difficult as we make out it to be. Okay, give me the right answer. Okay, this was our content plus judgment. Very easy. I think all of you will get this one right. Obviously, obviously, each of you has given me the right answer. This is the right answer. Option number B. I don't think there is any debate in around it. I tell you guys, last year logical reasoning section was very easy. Although this was not from logical reasoning section, this was from English section, and that too of CLAT 22. But last year logical reasoning section was very easy. I mean, people simply went with that notion in their mind that logical is difficult. So please do not go with any notion. Anyways, right now, I mean, with the current format, I don't think speed should be the problem. If speed is problem for you, then there is only one possibility, that you are spending unnecessary time overthinking too much on a particular question. Otherwise, speed should not be the problem. Each student, if you attempt it properly, should be able to attempt 85 to 95 questions at least, right? If you're not able to attempt it, then only possibility is that you do not know GK and maths bilkul bhi, and in other sections you are overthinking a lot, right? So do not overthink. If a question is taking lot of time, right, then it's better to move, because the more time you take, chances are high that you will mark the wrong option, you will overthink. Please allow your intuition to guide you. That is the best thing. All right, let us do. Now, this is something which is not a CLAT passage. It's something which I have picked from somewhere. So check it. Very small passage. All right. Do let me know once you have completed. All right. So the passage is about World War One. World War One was a conflict with devastation so widespread that it earned the title of the war to end all wars. Sadly, that turned out to be not true. Born from disputes among European nations, the fighting started in 1914. The United. So, if you see the first line, can you tell me which is the most important line? Let me see. What do you feel? All right. So, the first line is very important. That is something which directly sets up the context, but more than that, author has given his direct opinion. Sadly, that turned out to be not true. What is not true here? That they thought that World War One was a conflict with devastation so widespread that it turned the title of the war to end all wars. That means people considered, those who fought the war, they considered it to be the final war. It will end all wars. And author is saying that sadly, that turned out to be not true. So that was false. It was not the last war, right? So what is it? Born from disputes. So these are all the lines which are factual. The author is now justifying what he has said earlier, that why he's called this it's devastating, and why he has called it turned out to be not true. These are all factual statements. So how many people died and the war was a brutal one. This is again an opinion why. And then he has given how the war was fought. And then the saddest part of all this carnage was that leaders of the nations involved learned little from the conflict. That was the saddest part. That is again his opinion, because it is debatable whether this was the saddest part. That, but then he started off with that way, that it turned out to be not true. He is giving his reason here that why it turned out to be not true. In the Treaty of Versailles, the officially ended the war. The winning side demanded harsh terms that the losers had little option but to accept. The treaty sparked resentment that exploded into World War II. So he has given his answer here, that why he has called it, how it did not turn out to be true. And then he has given the given the opinion of Christopher Clark. Of course, author also agrees with this. He has just given this as an evidence that when what I am saying, somebody else has also said the similar type of thing, and that somebody else is Christopher Clark here. So what is the paragraph one talking about? World War One was devastating, but is it was not the war to end all wars as it was thought. Paragraph two, three, four are simple facts, and these are some things which should not trouble us. Okay. Now, you should not worry too much about whether the figure is 1,17,000 or 2,04,000, for whom it is what. I mean, that doesn't matter. If the question comes, you anyways have to come back and read it. So, paragraph 2, 3, and 4 were factual in nature. Paragraph number 5, again, he has given his opinion that leader did not learn from the World War One. That was the problem. And then he goes on to explain that how they did not learn from the World War One. All right. So, this is the content plus judgment. Content is World War One. Judgment is it was a devastating war. Leaders of the nation involved did not learn much. None of the price justified the catastrophe that was caused. So basically, whatever happened in World War One was not justified. He's saying leaders did not learn much. It was not the last war. Okay. Chalo. So tell me, which of the following statement is the closest to the main idea of the passage? All right. So what was my content plus judgment? Answer is option number D here. Right. So that this is the most important line. This is the message that he's trying to convey. That turned out to be not true. World War One was a conflict with devastation so widespread. So all the elements are there in this particular option. Devastation is here, and he has said that it was not the war that was thought to be the war to end all wars. It was not the case with that. That is also given. Author's final, I mean, the main judgment that it turned out to be not true. Everything is present here. Option D is the right answer. Most of you have given me option D. Answer option number A. That is not. I mean, that is, this has been used as an evidence to support author's argument. So you can say, but the better option is D because that is what his direct option. The argument is that it was not right. So next, now this is the last year CLAT passage once again. This was from logical reasoning section, and this was bit difficult to read passage. So giving you time, 2-3 minutes time to read it. All right. Do let me know, guys, once you have completed the reading. All right. So if you see the passage is from economics, people who are not from this background may find few words difficult. So, for example, words like depreciation is a common word, but nevertheless, there are something which is related to interest rate being talked about, investors and how the relation between exports and so various kind of things have been talked about, which might be confusing for people who are not from economics background. But trust me, That's not required. You do not have to understand the entire passage. If you are able to understand the main concept, the main theme that is being discussed, and if you are able to understand the way passage has been organized, that is good enough to solve majority, not only majority, but I must say 80% of the questions. Okay, so let us see what the passage is all about. Now, the things in yellow are something which are author's opinion. The depreciation of an economy's currency is not a matter of concern in itself. So this is, of course, his opinion. A particular thing is not a matter of concern in itself. So if it is not a matter of concern in itself, then how is it matter of concern, right? So that is what you should have anticipated, that he will talk about it. So he has talked about it. The decline in value against major currencies has to be viewed within a set of macroeconomic factors. So he is saying depreciation of currency is not a matter of concern in itself. It should be viewed within a set of macroeconomic factor. So this decline in value is against, of course, the currency. So the same thing. So the two statement could have been read as the depreciation of an economy's currency is not a matter of concern in itself. It has to be viewed within a set of macroeconomic factors. The recent depreciation of Indian rupee, once again the same thing. The recent case of Indian rupee is a case in point. The rupee has been depreciating for a long time. What are a concern now are the rate at which the depreciation is occurring and underlying factors causing the change. So basically what he is trying to say is that if depreciation of currency is happening, it's not a matter of concern, but it has to be viewed from macroeconomic factors along with the macroeconomic factors. Right now, what is happening in India is a matter of concern. He is saying that rupee was depreciating for a long time, but right now the causes or the factors causing this change, they are of bit concern. Okay, so that is what author is saying is a bit of concern now. Then he gives the underlying causes. Obviously, you should have expected this. What are the factors which are causing this change? So he is talking about the Russia-Ukraine war and how Russia-Ukraine war has impacted the rise in interest rate and what is happening because of which, right? So this entire thing is giving me the underlying factors which he has talked about. I may have not understood it as well because suppose if I am not from the economics background or the commerce background, I do not understand what he's trying to say. But what I have understood or what you should look at is if you have understood this much thing that he's saying that depreciation of rupee is not a cause of concern in itself, but right now it is cause because we have to look what factors are causing this change. This is what he's trying to say. Then he goes on to explain the things. Last paragraph is his important opinion again. India's growth and employment situation are yet to stabilize to what they were about decade ago. The RBI has difficult choice. What are the difficult choice? He has mentioned it. So this is what the paragraph, if I have to break it down, this was a complex passage. If I have to break it down, this particular what should I say strategy of focusing on each paragraph and identifying the content plus judgment of each paragraph helps in such kind of passages. So, for example, paragraph number 1, it was about decline in currency. That was the content. Author is saying that if currency is declining by its own, then that's not the problem. But we need to look at the macroeconomic factor. Rupees fall is being discussed. So, content plus judgment, fall of currency, and author's judgment on it. That we need to look at the macroeconomic factors, and then he has discussed what is happening with the rupee. Paragraph number 2, he has talked about RBI's challenge. So, what is the RBI's challenge? That is what his view was. So, RBI's challenge is um, whether they should sell dollars to stem the fall or they should look at erosion of forex kitty. So, if they sell the dollars, so if I have, for example, if I am India and if I have dollars and if I keep on selling the dollars, then obviously my forex kitty will decrease. Forex kitty means the foreign currency that I am holding. If I'm selling dollars, means I'm giving dollars to someone else, right? So my forex kitty is going to decrease. So he's saying that RBI has a challenge that which of the two things they should look for. And then the author's judgment is that Indian economy is not at its best. Obviously, this line all of us have understood. I don't have to add anything here. Exports also unable to take advantage of the falling rupee. Of course, this is also line that we have understood that exports are not able to take the advantage. So basically, we are able to understand what author's judgments lines are. Paragraph number 3 is that RBI is a difficult choice, whether they should do A, B, or C, whatever. So that is what the entire passage is about. All right. So what is the main idea here? So main idea here is if I have to break it down to the content plus judgment, the content is decline of currency. What is author's judgment on it? Author's judgment on it is that the current situation is in India needs to be analyzed with respect to macroeconomic factors. Usually, the fall of currency alone is not a matter of concern, but right now, what is happening in India is a matter of concern, right? And then he has talked about that RBI has a challenge. RBI is facing some challenge with respect to depreciation of currency. He has explained all the things then. But if you ask me, sir, very briefly, what is the main idea of the passage? Main idea of the passage is right now what is happening in India has to be analyzed with respect to macroeconomic factors. And herein lies the challenge in front of RBI that these are the three steps or two steps or two choices, not steps, two choices or three choices that they have. What should they do? That is the main idea of this. Okay. Right. So the first question, which of the following is the author most likely to agree with? Very easy. All right. So what is the author most likely to agree? I have written all the author's opinion here. So if you can see, this is the right answer. Currency depreciation is not a reason for worry in itself, but if macroeconomic factors are not good, there may be a cause of concern. Look at the balanced language, maybe, if, right? So this obviously was very easy. I don't think there would be a problem. I have taken another question from this particular passage. Which of the following is author most likely to agree? Once again, with respect to author's um, opinion. So this was the thing. These were the things that we said is author's take on the topic, right? So look at the option which looks more balanced, which looks more aligned to his views. All right. So let us see. The first, what is author most likely to agree with? Author, if we have seen, the main idea is that one question we have already marked that macroeconomic factors are cause of concern. The other opinion that author has it that RBI has some challenge. They have three choices: A, B, and C. What needs to be done? They need to decide. Author has not given his opinion or final take on they should do. They should choose A or B or C. He has not said that, right? So what will we say? The RBI must not focus solely on preventing the depreciation of the rupee as that may result in negative impacts on other aspects of economy, right? Let us see what choices. Controlling inflation versus stimulating growth and stabilizing the rupee without severely diminishing the foreign exchange kitty. RBI is a difficult choice. So if they focus solely on preventing the depreciation of the rupee, it will impact the forex kitty. That's what he is saying. Looks a very good choice. B, the RBI must focus solely on preventing. Here itself, you can reject it. No way he has said that they should focus on this only. They have said that what they need to focus on is they have three choices: A, B, and C. Whatever they do, it's going to impact something or the less. So they have a challenge in front of them. He has not said that how to tackle that challenge, right? See, periodic inflationary trends are normal in any economy, and the RBI need not worry about inflationary effects. Completely opposite of not worry about. The RBI did not do anything to reduce the rate of interest. Once again, he has not said this. Best answer is option number A. So if you pick up the main idea of the passage, the judgment lines of the passage, you will be able to solve a lot of questions. Trust me, I have not picked question from the other aspects like give me the appropriate title of the passage, or something related to the tone of the passage. But all these things are related to main idea only. If you are able to identify that, you will get a lot of questions right. But the problem that you need to address is that when you get stuck between the two options, which of the two to mark? Trust me, mark the one which is more balanced in its idea, right? When we say balanced in its idea, it does not necessarily mean the looking at the words alone, but what author has conveyed in the passage related to that balanced I'm talking about. Okay, so that is it for today, guys, and I hope that you picked up few new things. So see you soon in my next class on reading, and I will bring few fresh passages, some passages from previous year CLAT, but definitely few new passages also for you all. Okay, chalo, thank you.